So we had a propane heater installed about 1.5 years ago here. And first the tanks came, the propane company brought. And then the heating contractor came and attached this line here and to the heater in the house. I'll show you that after. But yeah, this has worked really well for us because we do have a wood stove. But in this corner of the house, when it's really cold like it has been, like we've been 30 to 40 below for 10 days straight, that you need something in this corner. And the previous owner had a wood stove there too. This is still a good chimney there, but the stove in there is not certified. Like they said, I wouldn't get no insurance with that kind of stove, so we can't use it. So that's why we installed this. But I want to talk about something else today too. When the propane company came, I told them the heater will be inside the house in this location, somewhere about there where my finger's going. Couldn't go too far that way because there's our maintenance room with the breakers. So that's like an ignition source. And then there's windows there that open. So you wouldn't put it too close to that. These tanks got to be a certain distance from the window. And they're all right here where they are. But anyways, the propane company came and I said, yeah, it'll be here. So he installed the tanks and he put the regulator right there. Then when the heating contractor came, obviously that's where he put it. The heating contractor did all this. He cut a hole through the wall, he put this vent through the heater's on the other side, you'll see that after. And then he put his line to the regulator. And then the propane company put the lines here from the tanks to the regulator. So, like I said, the video says they made a mistake. Even the pros make mistakes. And I'll show you that in a minute. Yeah, when the propane company came, actually I told the guy I wanted a consultation, and they said, oh, we'll just bring the tanks. I said, no, I don't know where to put the tanks. Like, I'm a little worried. I don't know. I don't understand if we have enough room to put them here. Because we were thinking of doing even a 500-gallon tank that would have went across and I have to dig a trench. But then we thought if we could get these bottles like this, you can put them right up against the house, like you're allowed to do that. And we're not using it full time, it's just a supplement. And that's enough propane. So I wanted to do this, but I want them to look. But they kept saying, you know, we can just bring them. And I insisted they come, and they came, and I told them all this. So I'm just getting to something here. Why I'm talking like this, you'll find out right away. So does anybody see anything wrong with this installation here? I didn't know. Like, I'm just a consumer. Like, I call in the professionals. That's why I had it done professionally. I don't know how to do it. I'm not a gas fitter or nothing like this. So I wanted it done professionally, and I paid a pretty penny. This was thousands of dollars for this. Do you see anything wrong here, guys? Some of you might know, but you know, the guys that came to do this, they're all professionals. The propane company does it all the time. They drop tanks down and they tell you how far it's got to be away from walls and everything. They know all this. And the heating contractors, they do it. And these guys they're very well experienced. They've been doing this for a long time. So anyways, a gas inspector came like over a year after they put this in. They're so busy, he said, like they got to check them all like after they're done, just because of regulations, government regulations. And it took them over a year to get here, and he found a problem. Now I'll show you what it is. It's the regulator here. The gas inspector said that's too close to that vent. And I said, well, the propane company and the contractor said that that's where it should be. They measured it out. And he said, no, that regulator's too close to that vent. And so I said, well, explain it to me. So he said, okay, here's your vent. On the other side is the heater. You'll see that. When I finish the video off, I'll show you that part. Here you have your exhaust. And you can tell by this, look at that. It's been so cold that it leaves a frost on the wall. So all that exhaust goes up. But there's another vent that draws in the fresh air from here. So fresh air goes in there, like you need oxygen, right? You need to mix it for this to work properly. Fresh air goes in, and the exhaust goes out. And he said, this regulator's too close. So I said, explain that to me. Well, he said it has a blowout valve on it, he says. Like, for precaution. It doesn't happen, but they have to have them. Like, if these tanks, let's say it gets too much pressure built up, just like a hot water tank, it's got to expel it, right? Like, where's it going to go? It would just explode. So they have a valve that's here, right here, a vent. So in case that has to blow out, it'll blow down. But he said propane, like, I knew that. Propane's heavier than air. So propane, let's say it did blow out of there. Then it sits here on the bottom. He said it lingers, it's heavy. And it could work its way in, and you know there's a pilot light in there on the other side. And that could be a big problem. So anyways, he said, I'm going to call the contractor to put this in. We're going to send a ticket to them, a notice, that there's an error here and it needs to be corrected. So a day later, the contractor called me and he said, apparently we got to come and deal with an issue. So we'll come and take a look at it. And he told me 3 things they could do. 1, move the heater. Why would you do that? You got to cut a new hole. And where there's not much room to move it too much. You'll see that at the end of the video. Where would I move it? Or install a vent pipe underneath and route it around to the side of the house. I'll show you that. To get it enough distance away, like a regulation. Like they said, this probably would never happen. But if it did, you got to be protected, right? And I didn't know nothing about that. Like, you trust a professional. What do I know? If I did it myself, then guys could say, oh, you did it wrong and everything. Like, they would even inspect my work. But I didn't do it. I trust them. But, I mean, they came and fixed it, but it just goes to show you, even pros, they don't know everything. So I'll show you the vent pipe that he did. He just did it today, actually. So before this was open, there was nothing here. This was the vent, and it would just blow. And like I said, the propane would go along the bottom. So he installed this today. This is a vent. And the inspector told me, too, they can do this. He said either they got to move this, or they got to move the heater. Well, why? Or they can do this. This is the easiest thing to do. So we installed this pipe, vent pipe. It goes around the corner, and it vents to there. If it ever happened, then it's far enough away from that other vent, the intake. So yeah, I thought I'd just do a video and show you guys, like, when you're installing something like this, or you get the pros to do it, you want to make sure that they do it right. Like, everything's got to be properly spaced. And I asked this, I probably asked this 20 times on the phone, and then when they came in person, I said, so I even said these tanks, I didn't even think of the regulator. I said, are these tanks far enough from that vent there? Oh, that doesn't matter about that vent. So I thought, oh, okay, that doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter for the tanks, but it matters for the regulator. Because the regulator, like you've seen, it has that valve on the bottom. So see, you're learning something all the time, and this is something I didn't know. And I did some studying and everything about distances and everything, and I was more worried about the tanks being too close to the window or too close to an ignition source, like the breaker room over there on the other side of the wall and stuff like that, that, you know, I didn't read about the regulator placement. Like, even the pros, they didn't know, right? So here's the heater inside the house. How much room would I have, guys? Couldn't go too much farther there. Plus there's a electric heater on the other side of this. We have it turned off, but that's still ignition. And you can't go too much into there. So they had to move the regulator or put that vent pipe. So I hope this video would help someone. Like, when you're going to get some heater installed, ask all those questions. Like, is the regulator far enough? Are the tanks far enough? Like, get several opinions, because if you don't know anything about it, like I don't, sure, I have common sense and I look it up and saw videos and stuff, but I didn't know about that regulator with the vent. But obviously they didn't either, and they got, one guy's been working there for 30 years, so, and the inspector told me he's got the same book as I do for codes, so he should have known better. So thanks for watching, and leave a comment if you've had something like this happen, or maybe you want to ask me a question about what kind of heater I got here.